Hi, I'm Seamless, and this is a very short video that I wanted to make with a sort of a discussion about Massive and FM. This was prompted by a comment that was made on Barely Alive's tutorial that they put out recently, which was a very nice Massive tutorial that actually taught me some things about the nature of filters. But someone made the comment about how it's like, oh, Seamless learned something. It's because not everything is FM, and they were joking, making a joke, and it's fine. I'm not, being mad about it. But this illustrates a certain concept that I think people should at least be, a little bit made aware of it. I'm not saying like, oh, you're all idiots. It's just like this happens a lot. Is that people misconstrue the idea of FM and what FM is and what it does, and the fact that it actually plays a pretty big role in the sounds that you like to make in Massive. And the reason why I think this is important to know is because you, as sound designers, should know what you're doing when you make the sound. I'm not saying that like you need to know what you're doing in order to make the sound, but when you do make a sound and you like what you've done, it's helpful to know what you did so that you can do it again, or so that you can make changes to make it better later. This is just to help. This is what I'm trying to do. Anyway, let's talk about FM. So what FM means is, what it stands for is frequency modulation. And there's actually a very direct and easy way to do this in Massive. So I actually have AI open right now, but I'm going to go get something else. All right, so I got a square saw. And I also have a wave candy open. And the gain is huge, which is super not necessary. Wave candy, open up. There you are. I have Massive detached so that it fits over the window. Yeah, all right. So. E. Let's actually get a sine wave. It's easier to. All right. Massive was weird, man. So here we have a sine wave. Now, if I were to just turn this back up again, if I were to use the phase mod on the modulation oscillator, because we have all these options. We have ring mod, phase mod, position, which is for wavetable, and then filter FM, which I actually did a tutorial recently about in order to achieve a sort of ring modulated kind of sound. I also have restart via gate engaged. I just do that whenever I use Massive. But I'm going to use the phase targeting, and I'm going to turn the pitch down way low. Now we're getting an FM effect. And you might be thinking, well, why the hell is phase modulation frequency modulation? Why does that happen? Well, as it turns out, pretty much all actual FM is phase modulation, because apparently actually changing a value of pitch that fast, like, is super duper hard or something. I'm not totally sure. But anyway, the point being is that phase, when you change the phase of something while it's playing, you're basically moving the start of the waveform ahead of where it's going. It's kind of like that whole thing about the speed of light when you're on a train that's moving. And you're walking forward on the train while the train's moving, then you're actually moving faster than what you're doing on the train. And that's the same thing if you're walking backwards and that kind of thing. So that's pretty much what the waveform's doing. And since in the waveform world, speed equals pitch. So the speed at which the waveform oscillates is your pitch. So that when you change the phase, you change the pitch while it's playing. So that's what phase modulation is. So whenever you do anything in Massive with phase modulation, with the modulation oscillator, that's FM. So that right there is a pretty big thing. But what you might be thinking now is like, okay, well, I can get kind of a similar effect using just the bend plus and minus business. So now I'm gonna go back to AI because it's very easily illustrated with AI. So I have bend plus and minus engaged. I'm just gonna go. Okay, actually I'm gonna go make sure I'm playing E, because in Wave Candy you can actually tell it to zoom in at a particular speed so that the waveform doesn't move. So now you get that weirdness. And now you're looking at that and you're just thinking, wow, that's something. That's pretty interesting. Surely that's some kind of unique and totally impossible to replicate sound and tag processing ability in Massive. Now watch what happens when I do the same thing with the frequency, or the frequency modulation, the phase modulation, also known as FM. It's pretty much exactly the same. I say pretty much because there's a few differences. One, we have the whole bend plus and minus thing. However, you can kind of do a similar thing if you change the phase of the modulation oscillator and the oscillator phase window. like so. And you can also go way farther. Although sometimes I'm not totally sure why you would. However, bend plus and minus is a little bit more controlled, and I think this is because this is in fact a very this is a process unique to Massive in order to have control over the bend plus and minus on your intensity knob. This is something that Massive does with the wavetables kind of deal. Like that motion in the sound is the result of wavetable placement, not so much actual FM. However, the effect that we hear, the sonic result, the kind of squelchiness in the sound, that is an FM process. That is the result of frequency modulation. That's FM. Like it's like what I understand that, like, if you're not super familiar with the sound, and because you're not some, like a sound designer like me, or you really don't care about it and you just want to make cool sounds and use them, then you're not gonna like listen to a sound and pick out certain processes. But this one should be really easy to spot. Like a good way to sort of illustrate it is to go back to the sine business. Here's a sine wave, right? Now the modulation oscillator is actually still at a lower pitch, but this one's at a higher pitch. In fact, I'm gonna make it higher. You kind of hear that like the squelching is sort of increased, and if I actually make the pitch higher, if I could go harder on the FM, you would hear that get really kind of squelching. In fact, I do this a lot in Citrus to sort of replicate how this sounds. Like if I were to, let's see, put this in the same thing that's got the wave candy. Yeah. Right, so let's make an oscillator that's really low, 0.25, and then FM it, 0.25. You get that squelchy sound. Like that's the squelch is the result of whipping the frequencies around, or the phase rather, whipping the phase around to achieve a similar result. Obviously, the intensity does different things for different oscillators, but some of them, like AI, are totally the result, or rather, totally similar to FM as a process. I say it's similar, but it's not super duper different. Now, the whole reason why I'm putting this out, like I said before, is just so that you know that when you make these kinds of changes in Massive, when you do these things, that it's the result of it's FM. It is FM, and a lot of the sounds that we're hearing are the result of FM. And like I said in the comment, it's some which was actually somewhat untrue. What I said in the comment was that how the original AI sound itself was actually the result of FM modulation. I mean that's totally not. That's not at all FM. But other processes are. Like other wavetables are. Some of them are anyway. And a lot of the popular ones people use to make these kinds of sounds, which is why like knowing this about these sounds, like when I first heard, the kill the noise sounds, and then, some of the more popular Massive patches people will make, I tried as hard as I could to make them in Citrus. And I was missing some key information about how that worked. And that was why I never could. And some of the key information has to do with the fact that certain processes, like the exact changes that happen when you mess around with the bend on certain things like AI, are a bit difficult to replicate in reality and other plugins. But other stuff actually includes what I learned from the main tutorial that Barely Alive did, which was how the relationship between filters and the actual final sound. So yeah, I'm gonna actually link to this just sort of, I guess, PSA about. I'll link the description, the tutorial that Barely Alive did, in case you haven't seen it, because it's good, it's informative, and it's a very, very popular sound that people have always wanted to make. So I feel like it's in your best interest to go watch that. And I hope that what I have just done here, has helped you to understand the role FM plays in sounds more. Yes. If you have any questions about any of this, let me know. And as usual, have a nice day.